Hey y'all, I am getting ready to seam my back panel to the main body of my garment. I'm going to be using mattress stitch to seam the left edge of my back panel to the left edge of my garment. And then if I want, or if you want rather, you can graft a few additional stitches along the back panel and waist. I typically like to graft about 5 to 6 stitches along this back horizontal edge. I think it gives it a really nice and clean look. So it doesn't matter what side you start on with the back panel. What is important is that the slant is like this, because when you're looking at it, you want these increases to be going outward like this to mimic the increases of your front panel. So when we are doing mattress stitch for the back panel, the bar that we pick up is going to be along this selvage edge. And for mattress stitch, all you're going to do is pick up the bar that's in between two of those edge stitches, like that. So if you're looking at it from this direction, like this, and you see those individual rows, you would pick up a bar by going behind the two legs of one stitch and then coming up behind the two legs of the stitch of the next stitch. Okay? When we are looking at the main body of our garment, you can see this nice selvage edge. And for mattress stitch here, you're going to be picking up the bar behind this selvage edge. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay. You're going to go behind the two legs of one stitch, go up a stitch, and come behind the two legs of that stitch. That's the bar you're going to pick up for mattress stitch here. Okay. So now we actually have to start grafting. And I have a darning needle and about 24 inches of scrap yarn. And I am going to start by grafting this left edge to this left edge. And I want to start at the top and work my way down because I want to be able to continue on grafting these waistband stitches right away. So I'm going to position my garment upside down with the right side facing me on the right hand side of my project space. And I'm going to put my back panel upside down. It really doesn't matter as long as it looks like this, you know, increasing mirror image to your bust. But technically it's upside down, right side up on the left hand side of your project space. And I am going to start by just getting a feel for how many stitches I have. I did bust darts, so I'm going to have to take account for the 2 extra rows, which I did for my back panel, but I just want to get a feel for where my stitches are. So I'm going to go ahead and count my selvage stitches for each to get a feel for my project. I recommend doing the same. So I'm going to start by anchoring my yarn in my back panel. And to do that, I'm just going to come up through the legs of that last selvage stitch, like so. Gonna leave a little bit of yarn. And now I'm going to go to my garment and I'm going to pick up my first bar between my selvage row and my first, between my selvage row and the rest of my fabric. So to do that, I'm going to come in behind the legs of this first selvage stitch, and then I'm going to come up behind the legs of the next selvage stitch. Now I'm going to move to my back panel, and I'm going to come in through the hole that I just came out of and go up to the next stitch and pick up that bar. Going back to my body now, I'm going to go in through the hole I just came out of, go up a stitch, picking up that bar, back to my back panel, in through that same hole, picking up the next bar, and you keep on in this fashion until you have seamed all of the stitches. I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so I have finished seaming along that left side, and now I am going to go ahead and graft an additional probably 5 to 6 stitches along my back panel and the back of my waist. So to do that, what I'm going to do is, now I left off on the body side of my garment. I'm going to go back in the hole that I came out of on my back panel, and then I'm going to go over a stitch to pick up that bar along the edge of the bottom edge of my back panel. So I'm going to pull that through. Then I'm going to go back into the hole I came out of on the main body of my garment, and I'm going to go over one stitch on the bind off edge of the waistband. Then I'm going to come back over here onto the bottom edge of my back panel, once again going over one stitch to pick up a bar, and then I'm going to go back down here to my, up here rather, to my bind off edge of my waistband. I'm going to go over a stitch like that to pick up that bar. And I'm going to continue in that fashion until I've seamed 5 stitches. Then you're just going to pull it taut. And with this seam, you don't want it to be too tight. You want it to be a little bit flexible. So I always go back through and kind of loosen it up. I have to tighten this part up a bit, you can see those big ladders. But what I want to do is kind of work some of that slack back up through here where I kind of pulled it a little bit too tight. I'm going to leave it for now because I don't have to fix it just yet. First, I'm going to go ahead and seam the other side. So to do that, what you need to do is give your panel a twist like this so that this increasing edge mimics the front panel's increasing edge. And then we are going to seam these edges together. And once again, I want to seam starting at that top edge. So I'm going to position my garment like this to seam it. Okay, so to get started, once again, I'm gonna put my needle and my yarn down, and I'm just gonna take a moment to count my stitches just to give me an idea of what I'm working with. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead then and anchor my yarn through this main body, this first main body stitch on that first selvage, on that selvage edge, the first stitch on the selvage edge, and pull your yarn. Okay, so now I am going to grab the first bar right here. It's a tough one, but I need it to make my rows come out evenly, to make my stitches come out evenly. All right, so I'm going to go back to this edge and up. And I'm going to just basically repeat what I did on the other side for this side. Okay, so now you can see you have both sides seamed, and now it's time to attach your straps.